Thank you for exploring the curious universe with me. Your curiosity matters. And what if together we could create a greater, more curious world? My name is Cassy Summers. Welcome to the Curious Universe podcast. But is it big enough for you? That's what we're going to be exploring today in the Curious Universe podcast. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I am thrilled to be back for season 4 with the Curious Universe podcast. I have a lot of big asks this year. So if you want to help me achieve any of those, please like, subscribe, share this with your frenemies, your enemies, your loved ones. What would it take to get this podcast out to the world so I can contribute to more people and have a lot more fun? So, is it big enough for you? Let's explore this together. I just did a fantastic call. It was just a free call I gave out to my list. You maybe were there, maybe you saw it. And we were talking about getting everything you fucking want in 2025. And through that conversation, there came up this energy of, are your asks big enough? Like, are you asking for big enough things? Now, a lot of people, when they look at that, they go into kind of like a realm of judgment. Like, is it judgeably big enough? I'm just asking for a tiny home, but this reality says I should want a mansion or a castle. That's not what I'm talking about. That is actually going to like contract and limit what is possible for you if you're going down that road, if that's where you're functioning from. What I would like you to look at is the energetics of it, the energetic expansion of it, the bigness, the greatness of it. And is it actually big enough for you, the things that you're asking for, the things that you're targeting? And if it's not, then what I would like to give you as information that I wish I had so long ago is that most likely you will find a way to sabotage it or not complete it. And that's not a wrongness of you. It's just that as a humanoid, even if you don't know this cognitively, you're an energetic being. You function from energy, you're aware of energy, you choose with energy, and you might call it a gut feeling, you might call it an intuition, you might call it whatever you're going to call it. When things are incongruent, they create incongruency in your life. They create wonkiness, and most of us are not actually motivated to do whatever it takes for something that is too small. Like, are you willing to do whatever it takes for like a piece of artwork that you don't really care about? I know I'm not, and I'm guessing you're not either. So let's explore this big enough. What if you actually took a moment and just got a snapshot of your entire life right now? Like, what is your current reality? So look at the money in your bank account, okay? The assets that you have, um, the riches, the wealth, the cash flow, okay? The career, the job or non-job that you have, your role, okay? Your body, how it feels, how it functions, what's going on with that. Your family and the intimacy, the space, the whatever, okay? Your relationships, your creationships. Um, whoo, okay. Yeah. And then what else? What are some of the other topics? Like, what if you looked at everything in your life and you asked, is this big enough for me? Is this actually match the life that I truly desire? Is it big enough? Is it? Is it big enough? I am so grateful for my life. And if you would have asked me like 7, 8, 9 years ago, if I would like what it would be like to live the life that I'm living right now, I would have just been like blown away. It would totally have matched the bigness of who I was back then. In fact, there's certain areas in my life where it would have been a little bit beyond reach. It would have been a little bit too big for me to commit to. Okay. But now in my life, there's some aspects that are super congruent, and there are other aspects that are just totally not big enough for me. And the more I expand into consciousness and potency and power, it becomes more obvious, right? It's like in your face, and you can't just settle anymore. A lot of us reach a point of like, I just can't settle for this mediocrity anymore. It's fine, there's nothing wrong, but is it big enough for you? Is it great enough? Is it expansive enough? Is it phenomenal enough? Did you really come here to have a mediocre life? Did you really come here to have the bare necessities or have something really um, kind of safe and settled? Or did you come here to enjoy something phenomenal, to create a life that you can't wait to wake up to? Like I love those days where I'm like I'm like, oh my God, is it morning yet? Like I'm so excited. Not the mornings where you're like, oh, do I have to get up yet? Yeah. If you're going, do I have to get up? My guess is your life is not big enough for you, or there's aspects of your life that are not big enough for you. I want to explore that with you. I would love for you to get a sense of some things that you could be asking for right away that is going to create your life to be that phenomenon, it's that greater ask that you ever imagined possible. So let's take a few different areas and then we could kind of play and go in a little deeper. So remember on the Curious Universe, this is really about you like digging in. And even when I'm talking about stories about me, it's about you looking at your life, how you're functioning, creating, and what questions you can be asking curiously that's going to expand your universe. Okay. Even looking at universe, like, is the world big enough for you? Or does the universe actually match more? Oh, that's pretty cool energy. And if you don't perceive anything, you're not wrong. I didn't realize I was perceiving energy for years when I started my consciousness journey. It's just something that you learn as you go along. Just keep playing with it, okay? All right, so let's look at let's start with let's take money. Money is always a fun topic for me, not for other people. So, is the wealth in your life big enough for you? And just is it light? Is it heavy? Get out of your mind about it. So your mind is going to have points of view, okay? And it's going to be connected into the whole world and like the points of view of this reality. So your mind might say, oh, of course I have enough money because I have, a house and da 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 da. And like, really, if I had any more, I wouldn't even know how to spend it. Okay. Or your mind might be like, I totally don't have enough because there's all these things I want to do and I can't do them. I don't want your mind involved in this curious matter. I would like you to actually tap into energetically because that's where you're going to get the information that's going to allow you to have something more, to change something, to expand something. But if you're using your mind, all you get is another set of limitations. You'll never go beyond it. So is your money big enough for you? See what shows up. You might get a yes, you might get a no, you might get a light, you might get a heavy. Okay. And we're just acknowledging it. And we're not going to judge it. You're not going to have a point of view. Don't allow stress to come up. Don't allow any of those barriers that come up to keep you from just being present with it. Okay. Is my money big enough for me? Now, if you get a yes, That's fucking cool. That's amazing. Well done. And I would encourage you to play with the question, and what else is possible now? And just play with that. If you're getting a no, then would you be willing to explore what amount would be big enough for you? And not from that billions of dollars, or no, he said millions, but I'm saying billions. Um, Only because, and it might actually be that, but a lot of people put millions or billions into this fantasy land or this like kind of pico universe over here. And they're like, the only thing that would be big enough for me is blah, blah, blah. Like this number they've already decided they could never possibly reach, right? That's not actually helpful because you already believe you can't ever attain it or achieve it. So what would be big enough for you that would stretch you, maybe it's more money than you've ever had before, but also isn't so far out there that it's like some fantasy one day my prince will come kind of bullshit, okay? And you might not be getting an exact number. We don't need an exact number. What you require is the energy of it. That is more important than anything, is the energetics of it. Okay. So get the sense of the energy of what amount of wealth would be big enough for you. And just kind of relax into whatever's showing up. So if it's the number, if it's just an energy, um, if it's a space. Okay, wow, cool. And now what amount of cash flow. So cash flow and wealth are different, right? Wealth is when you have assets, like when you've accumulated assets and you have wealth and you can sell those assets, and this is like your net wealth, okay? Um, Cash flow is cash on hand, flowing of cash. So what amount of cash would be big enough for you? Cash on hand would be big enough for you. Woo! Sometimes we get bigger numbers than we expect. I love that. And just kind of bask in that for a minute. Don't make it right, don't make it wrong. If you can melt any judgment, any computation about it whatsoever. Not how am I going to do it? How would I figure that out? That's unrealistic. Just like, oh, cool. That energy. Whoa, that's cool. That would be big enough for me. Okay. Yeah. And so now you've kind of played with those energies, right? And now what would you have to choose? Because here's the thing, guys, is that your choice is the creative energy that you put into something that actualizes it as reality. So if you're actually willing to have this come to fruition, you're willing to have whatever this is with the cash flow and the wealth, the riches, the money, okay, you're going to have to participate. And participate does not mean you have to work hard. It does not mean, and you might, that just depends on your reality, okay? Participate means you're going to have to engage. You're going to have to ask questions. You're going to have to choose because choice is the one of the most powerful assets you have. Your choice is a dynamically powerful asset that most people completely ignore and avoid, actually. Like the plague, like avoid it at all costs. Okay, so you ask yourself, like, okay, cool. So are you willing to commit to that amount that is big enough for you? And if you get no, that's okay. Cool. Move on. Maybe this podcast episode is not for you, and I'll catch you in the next one because we're really looking at actualizing some big ass here. We're looking at um having more for all, but especially you. Okay. So are you willing to do whatever it takes? Whatever it takes doesn't mean it's going to be torturous. It doesn't mean that it's going to defy your morals. It doesn't mean, and it might, but it doesn't have to mean those things. It, whatever it take might be you have to learn how to receive. It might be you have to learn how to relax. Okay. Doing whatever it takes is whatever it takes, which is a multitude of possibilities, infinite possibilities. So if you're getting no, then I want to ask you the question again. So, truth, was that amount even actually big enough for you? Tricky, huh? If it's not big enough for you, it can't commit to you either. And this is something I want to dig into a little bit here for a minute. Um, okay, have you ever either maybe you met someone in a romantic setting or you were maybe even offered a job and at the time it seemed so much bigger than you that you couldn't even say yes to it. Like maybe I am imagining someone like they're out of high school and then you ask them, do you want to be the CEO of a multi-billion dollar company? And they haven't even gone to university yet. And it's just so much bigger to them. They couldn't commit to it. And that this is where there people go into fear or they go into excuses, they go into overwhelm, they go in all these things, right? Or perhaps it is like that partner where like they are so expansive and they're choosing so much with life and they're like, yeah, like let's have a creationship and you're like, I can't like no, like I had this actually happened to me, something I created. It did not happen to me. Something I created right after high school. So I'd been dating quite mean people that I never felt were really grateful for me. Some kindness, but not like in like just overwhelming kindness because I didn't grow up with a lot of kindness. So it was very familiar and very normal for me to be with at least some sense of meanness and judgment. Okay. And I had a crush on this boy, Kyle Harris. Um, since the moment I ever met him, like so I was very, very young. He was the cousin of my best friend, and every summer we would go to this amazing lake and stay in cabins, and he'd be there, and I just like crushed on him so hard. And so my first year graduating, he showed up and he was like, he knew I had a crush on him all these years, and he was like ready to actually like have a relationship with me. And I was like, what? Because I had one put him on a very high pedestal. And my self-value was very, very low. So we start, so I say yes, and he's like so kind, like so incredibly kind. It made me squirm. It made me uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do. He was never putting pressure on me. He was never trying to force me to do anything. He was interested in me. He was so nurturing and tending and willing to show up and willing to put in so much effort. I broke up with him. That's what I did. I broke up with him because for me at that time, it was just too big for me to commit to. Where I was functioning, this low level, this low vibration that I was choosing to function from, I couldn't commit to that. And now I'm hoping you're having some aha moments because the reverse might have happened to you. So you might have met someone that you thought was fantastic, you thought was wonderful, and then they just have some really poor, weird excuse and they just piece out of your life. And you're like, what? Well, maybe they weren't big enough for you. And I don't mean that from a judgment place or space, because here's the thing, we're all infinite beings. It's not that they're not actually big enough. It's that where they're functioning from, the vibration they're choosing to live from is not big enough. And so that's where with Kyle, I was not. I was, and He was willing to see something in me that I was not ready to step into being and functioning from. I was still living in poverty. I was still living in suffering. And he was this blessed energy of kindness and possibility and ease. He just like everything was ease, and he just chose ease. So I couldn't commit to being with him. Um, I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know what I was choosing at the time or creating at the time, but I do have that awareness now. And so for you, what things have not committed to you because they weren't big enough? So it could be, a job opportunity that you feel like you lost, or that, person that wouldn't choose relationship with you, um the creation that fell apart, the business partnership, the friendship, all those things, the plans to travel. Like, what if there's nothing wrong with you? What if they weren't big enough to commit to you? Like, I wasn't big enough to commit to being with Kyle, and they're not big enough to commit to being with you. So what you want to look at when you're asking these questions and you're playing with it is to really get clear and get um kind of like congruent with what is big enough for you. And again, drop the judgment, guys. Don't be like, everything, I am the biggest, the best. Like, get vulnerable. Get vulnerable with yourself. Okay? What's true? What's actually true? And in that vulnerability, it's probably whatever you've decided is big enough for you, it's probably actually not big enough for you. It's probably more. If you're willing to get so vulnerable and so intimate with this and these energies, then you're going to have a lot of awareness about you and about your life and what you could be choosing. I truly know that if I can imagine something, it's possible. And I know it's true for you too. If you can imagine something, if you can imagine yourself being somewhere, choosing something, having someone, then it's possible. And then just comes the next steps, right? Willing to have it, willing to ask for it, willing to choose it, willing to receive it. Yeah. So, what is actually not big enough for you in your life that you've been making big enough for you that's killing your thrival and the infinite possibilities available to you? Everything that is times a godzillion. Will you destroy it and create it, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all 100 choice, points, puppets, creation, species, and beyond. So that's the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. We use it on the show. If you're new to the show or new to this episode, please go to theclearingstatement.com later for more information on that if you want. Essentially, it is a magic wand that clears that energy. So we bring up energy as we talk, and then that clears the energy out. It's super wonderful. Okay, so let's see how much further we can go on this topic. Yeah. So you're looking at what's not big enough for you in your life, but also you could acknowledge what is big enough for you. Like, what in your life is big enough for you that you've never acknowledged, that if you were to acknowledge it would actually exponentialize possibilities. And wow, like the expansion of whatever that is, whether it's the relationship, the money, the body, all those things. Hmm. And obviously, if I'm saying, is your body big enough for you? It's like the energetics, like, is your body great enough? Is it, and not from judgment. No. I know for me, for many years, I did everything I could to diminish my beauty so that I wouldn't make other women jealous. And so I was functioning from that, which was creating all sorts of shit. But essentially, that's where it wasn't great enough for me, because the truth is, the beauty that my body was capable of, I was diminishing. So it wasn't my body's fault. It was me, the being, altering it. It could also be just how your body feels, the fluidity, the strength, the mobility, the whatever it is for you. So look at these areas of your life. And what is big enough for you that you've never acknowledged that you could? Okay. Just be with that, acknowledge it, ask to exponentialize it, expand it, grow it. What else is possible? How does it get any better than this? And what is not big enough for you that you could actually ask for something greater? Something so much greater. And are you willing? And without a point of view of what that means, like I know people, especially relationship is a really dynamic area for this, where the fear is if I ask for something greater, that means that they go away. But what if it's okay, maybe they will go away. I can't tell you that. I'm not going to read your fortune. Um, but it could also mean the relationship gets greater. It could also mean that it gets greater within that with that person. And if you were willing to just fucking have it anyways, let everything go, relax, choose, be free, free yourself enough to have the life that you truly desire. You have one lifetime as you. It's like whoever you are. You're the family you were born into, the body that you created, the time in which you're occupying planet Earth, okay? This is your one lifetime to get everything you can get out of being you, this particular you that you're being this lifetime. Don't you want to like get everything out of that? Don't you want to see what you're capable of, see what's possible as you? Wouldn't that be a lot more fun than just kind of settling for whatever got created for you so far? Yes. Cool. So let's look at one more topic, okay? So we talked about money, we talked about relationship a little bit. What about your business? Now, not everyone looks at as if they have a business. And I was just talking to someone about this actually. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you know you have a business. If you have a brick and mortar business, you know you have a business, right? Um, if you work for someone else, or say you're a stay-at-home mom, you might have the point of view you don't have a business. Well, there is business as in here is the thing that creates money for me. And then there's businesses in your life is your business. Like I know as a stay-at-home mom, like I had systems in place. I had like making the baby food and da 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 and like the play groups in the park. And like that is a whole system of business. Your life is your business. And if you're working for another employer, that is your business, as in like your business within the business, your role, your tasks, your all of those things. Okay. So there we go. So now we have that. Business has been like so in my awareness coming up to 2025. I'm like so excited about the possibilities that are opening for people right now on the planet. So if you looked at that, is your business big enough for you? And you might get a yes, you might get a no, you might get a light, you might get a heavy. Remember, everything that's true for you is always going to have that sense of lightness, space. If there's a lie attached, it's going to be heavy, it's going to be contracted. Okay. And you might get a little mix of both. And that means just ask more questions because there's more than one thing going on there. It might be it's big enough for you, but you're not willing to be big enough for it. Or it might be it would be big enough for you if you allowed it. Okay. So your business, is it big enough for you? Hmm. And it could be aspects of your business, the amount of revenue your business is bringing in, the staff that you have, the impact you're having on the world, the benefits to you in your personal life. Like, are they big enough for you? Now, here's the great thing is that if you get no, you should get excited. Like anytime you ask, is this big enough for me? And you get no, get excited Don't get low, don't get depressed. Don't be like, oh my God, how am I going to figure this out or fix this? Fuck that shit. Sorry, I'm a little potty mouth today. Um, it's excitement because the awareness is there's something greater for you. And it doesn't, again, it doesn't mean just like the relationship, it doesn't mean you kill your business. It's okay, what do I need to choose that would allow my business to be big enough for me? Ooh. What do I need to choose that would allow the revenue with my business to be big enough for me? What would I have to choose that would allow the ease and relaxation of my business to be big enough for me? The impact of my business to be big enough for me? And you get little things will pop up. And at first you might not get any awareness, okay? We're not looking for an answer, we're looking for an awareness. And you might think that nothing's coming. It might just feel like nothing, or it might feel like a whole bunch of awareness with nothing tangible that you can like even cognate. That's okay. Just be with that question. Anything that does not allow that, destroy and uncreate it. Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all 100, shorts, boys, poems, creation, species, and beyonds. And keep playing with that question. Eventually, the more you ask that question, and for some of us, it takes a while. It could take a month of asking that question. It could take a year of asking that question. If you didn't put a time frame on it, then you could allow infinite possibilities to show up, okay? So you're just being with that question. And then what will occur is it will just pop into your awareness. And it might be a random time, you might be in the shower and you just had this brilliant idea for your business and you might not even connect that it had anything to do with you asking that. And when you choose that thing for your business, it fires up and it's like that rocket fuel that takes your business rocket off the ground. But it came from that question of what would I need to choose? What would you need to be, choose, do, have, create, generate, receive for it all to be big enough for you? Sometimes it is a receiving, sometimes it's a choosing. It's usually both because you have to choose to receive. Has your life been big enough for you? And I know it can be scary or daunting or whatever. We have like 100 stories of why we shouldn't choose those things that like are terrifying, that kind of like shake you up a little bit because they're so wow. But those are the things that make life worth living, aren't they? If you live the whole rest of your life never having that that sense of something so beautiful and miraculous showing up, would you be satisfied with that life? Do you want to play it safe forever? Are you willing to actually leap into some of those bigger things, those bigger possibilities? Because they're big enough for you. And yes, sometimes we will ask for things and I could totally date Kyle now because I have changed. I was able to change. Kyle's married, by the way. Don't worry about it. Don't be thinking about Kyle. But I had to transform. And so if you get something and you're like, I would like to ask for this, but I know I'm not quite there, fucking ask for it anyways. And demand of yourself to become what you need to become to receive that so that you can be big enough that it can commit to you and that you can commit to it. Commit to being with it, to be with those bigger creations, to be with those bigger possibilities. What if you let them stretch you and grow you and exponentialize you as a being? Because for me, I know that if something isn't expanding me, if something like, isn't inviting me to step into more being, it is not big enough for me. It's not. That's just how it works for me. Whether that's having someone enter my life, whether it's a new project, whether it's even like clothing. Like when I have those like really safe pieces that don't make my being sing and vibrate, they don't match, they're not big enough for me. So what is it for you? And what if you actually did some like winter purging and purge some of the things in your life that are taking up space, that are holding you back, that are weighing you down, that are just not big enough for you? And then what if you chose just even a few? It doesn't have to be all of it, a few things that match that expansiveness, that if I choose this, I will become more. Because that is an indication, that's an awareness that it's big enough for you. You will become more and it will become more. And hopefully this leapfrog thing will happen and you'll become more and it'll become more and you'll become more, it'll become more. I've seen this with my business a billion times over. It's amazing. Yeah. What could you be choosing this year, 2025, that would be big enough for you? And now, as we wrap up here, I just want to invite you to something that actually might match that, and it might not. No worries. But I am launching a new program. Well, it's a relaunch in February 2025 called Business Energetics. We did a round last year. It was phenomenal. And this year, we're going to go even further. I would like to invite you to join that membership. It's a 3-month membership. We'll put a link in the description below. You can check it out. Perhaps this is the choice that you could be making that would allow your life, whether it is an actual physical business or just your life as a business, to step into something big enough for you. And we're going to play in those business energetics. We're going to ask those questions. We're going to get clear together, just like here where I'm asking you questions, but you can bounce back. We'll have feedback. And together we're going to step into these new spaces of being that expand us, that allow us all, wherever we are, whatever that is for us, to have something even greater than we ever imagined possible. So you're invited. Come play, come check out the link. And happy 2025, season 4. Here we are. I wonder what is possible this year with the Curious Universe podcast. We're always looking for ideas, topics, whatever is in your world that you're curious about. Let me know. Drop me a direct message. You can put a comment under the thing here. We keep our eyes out. So thank you so much. And thank you for joining me on the Curious Universe podcast, where we bypass the structures of this reality so you can create, have, and receive your own phenomenal reality. And it's possible. It's here. It's now. See you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you for exploring the Curious Universe with me. Your curiosity matters. And what if together we could create a greater, more curious world?